and my grandmother's twin, like they were just both light skinned, and it's like, how can you say, mind you, black people come in all kind of colors, you can have whatever hair. I know blacks can be blonde, red hair, whatever, but it made me think like, okay, well, one of my, like, something happened to my grandmother, you know, because that makes
or on
sense.
your grandfather's side too.
Well, yeah,
because like we and John talk about it all the time. Like he's a twin, and his family, and my grandfather has twins, but twins have a tendency to skip generations.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely having twins.
So I could end up with twins, or I might not. Our kids might end up with twins, or they might not.
Yeah.
But then, if you ask, like, my grandmother has light colored eyes. Like, she had blue eyes when she was younger, I believe. But none of us have it. Right? Her son doesn't have it. I don't have it. My sister doesn't have it. But if my kid pops up with light colored eyes, I can't be like, where the hell these eyes come from? Because my grandmother, so it could be on either side.
Well, yeah, I could, but I guess, like, just looking at, like, old pictures, because I never met either one of my grandparents, unfortunately, but, like, I just feel like for that amount, that 24 point whatever % of European blood to be so close to my mom, meaning so close to me, like, it makes me question whether or not, because they were living, I did, like, after getting the 23andMe, like, I went back in, like, old records and everything, so, like, well, since it's Father's Day, you get it for, like, $50, but normally, like, $99, so y'all might want to hop on that, like, right now. But,
it's $50 each.
Yeah, $50 each, but normally.
But then I've been doing research on other genetic testing.
My
areas.
dad did Ancestry too.
I've heard of that one. I've heard of Ancestry. I've heard of some other DNA things that work.
Is that mine? Yes, mine, not my mom's. But I like Ancestry because they add to it. But like, it's interesting to see. Like,
hey, you got Nigerians.
I know, and I think Nigerians are so beautiful.
I have a Nigerian. One of my line sisters, shout out to Don Martha, is a Nigerian.
Yes.
So she's awesome.
Chevy's friend that we met that one time, she's Nigerian.
Yes.
She's so pretty. Like, I just think Nigerians and like.
I'm dying to find it out because I want to know what exact area my family comes from.
Like it says, like, all my African, European, East Asian, Native American, but then it'll also tell you like when, or like an estimation of when that like bloodline entered your bloodline.
Wow.
I guess. I'm not on your Wi-Fi. Okay, here we go. So it says like 2 to 4 generations ago is when that, you know, was part of me. Like, it tells me when 3 to 5 generations ago, like, it tells me when certain, like, ethnicities. Scandinavian, like, if I'm Scandinavian, I need to be a lot taller than I am. Because they are tall.
One of your kids gonna be tall.
Yeah, they'll be like 3 years old, and I'm looking up like, oh, it's time for a diaper change? Okay.
My dad always said my great grandfather, he was a white man. He was about 6'5", 6'6".
Jesus.
My great grandma was a $1.2, $1.3. She was very dark. So like the Mobley side of the family, that's why you see a lot of people. Like me, I'm more in the middle. Like, I'm caramel, but then I have cousins very light skin.
They have freckles too, which are the cutest things ever.
And then I have like ones that's very dark, but then I have people that's very short. I have people that's, I'm about 6'1", 6'2". I have people that's about 6'8". People that's like 5'1", so it's like it changes. That's why I tell all the time, like, I won't be surprised if these 2 of our kids is very tall.
I think our kids are going to be tall regardless.
I think your kids are going to be tall, and then I think like one, they'll probably be like chocolate Skittles. Like, one will be like very like lighter, like on the lighter end, and then like they'll fall in line, and then you'll have one that's like very.
Well, my
dark.
grandfather on my mom's side, the one that just recently passed, he was about John's completion, or your complexion, around you guys' complexion.
Yeah.
So like I have my mom's color skin, so I have like a mocha.
That is not mocha. I'm mocha.
I don't know what I am. I'm like,
I feel like
caramel.
I don't know.
I have a lighter complexion.
Like,
even though
Tequila,
like shout out to Tequila, thinks I'm pale.
You're not red skin.
No, she keeps saying I'm pale.
No, you're like latte. You're
a latte. Yeah.
I have a latte.
You're a macchiato.
Yeah, you was a latte. Look,
yeah, there you go.
That's why I was trying to tell you that you're a latte.
I am
you're not like white. Like,
I'm not like super white.
No, but and that like,
even though my legs are deficient of melanin,
Well,
and I
maybe
need
you
to go
should
get
just
some
go outside.
tan.
I mean,
You should just go outside.
my body, I'm like red.
Look at my wrist compared to the rest of me.
I heard the wrist is supposed to be your technical color. I don't think I want to be this color.
I can see that because this is what's out to the sun most of the time.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I think that very, very like dark skinned, like ebony skinned people are beautiful,
Yeah.
and I'm very jealous of them because I have these acne scars all over my face, and I'm like, when you're dark like that, you don't get that, and I, like they're just so beautiful, and they get a lot of hate, like. Being darker skinned, like I've had to deal with colorism too, but I feel like very, very, very dark skinned people get bashed the most, and they should not, because I feel like one, they're the original people. I think that's what we looked like millions of years ago anyway, and two, that they have their skin is like velvet. Like I just
smooth.
Sometimes, like I saw a guy. I was at Wawa the other day in Port St. Lucie, and this very tall, very, 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 very dark, like dark iPhone screen dark. He walked by and I could not stop looking at him. I mean, he was very attractive, but his skin is what I was looking at, like, because his skin, it was it was nighttime, but it was still glowing, and it's like we other shades of different melanins, we don't get that, but like the darker skinned people, like it's just like they have something that we don't.
Well, for us, they call us the. I don't know if you have that, but they call me iguana because.
What is that?
Like when I was in high school, they used to tell me like some days I'd be darker than I am, some days I'd be lighter.
You mean a gecko?
Or a chameleon?
A chameleon?
And I started noticing that too as I got older. Like some days I look like whenever I get a haircut, some days I get lighter for some reason. But then when I get like the hair, the afro a little bit, I get it seem more darker. So I don't know,
but I think we get so fed up on, like, so caught up on like what skin complexion someone is and the type of hair that they have, and it's like, bro, if you acknowledge someone who is beautiful, because everybody has their own, because you could be the most beautiful person in the world, but you are a dunce and you are not able to, shitty person, or you're just a shitty person. And then you have white people who, to quote Charlemagne the God, they just be aging like milk.
Yeah, milk on a hot sidewalk in the middle of July.
I ain't gonna lie, the ones that be aging like they don't age, they got some black in them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cause
that, and they're nicer people. I think nicer people age better.
Dude, that man's 50.
Who?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd?
He's 50 years old.
Oh, God, he looks like Clueless.
Paul Rudd has been around since, like, way before Clueless, and he looks good. Like, he's really aged really well.
But I also think that has to do with, like, being just a good person. I feel like you are given this youth and vitality and vivaciousness, like, when you're just a good-hearted person. Because if you notice, like, mean people, look at Donald Trump.
He old
Case
and
in
ugly.
point. He looks
Melania.
like breathing moldy bread is what we have in office. Like, and he's the same age as like my parents.
Yeah.
And it's just like I would never would have thought that y'all are.
How old is Donald Trump? Like,
he just had a birthday. He's like 70
something.
He's 70. My dad is like, look at dad. My dad is 60 something, right? Yeah. And if you look at my dad is beautiful. He's handsome. He doesn't look 60, but it's like that whole idea of if you're a good person.
Yeah.
And if you mind your own business.
Yeah, because these racists out here look like rotting tomatoes. Like, but if you look at like a kind, gentle person, like they might be older.
Martha Stewart.
Martha, yeah. She's like, what, 90?
Martha is not that old, but Martha smokes that good ganja. That's why she looks good. She's just always chill.
Martha, it's not even just that. Martha just be vibing. Like she stays
in her lane.
She's 77.
Good God, I never would have.
She looks better than Donald Trump.
She does. But yeah, it is like it's also like just taking care of yourself too, because like some people they don't moisturize.
This nigga 73. He's like he about 85.
I'm telling y'all, he's a breathing loaf of spoiled bread.
I told Tequila this year is supposed to be 2019. I know it's almost ending because we're in the 6th month. But for the rest of 2019, I feel like I'm going on this whole healthy me mentally and physically. Because we always talk about physical, like I want to lose weight, I want to do this, I want to do that, but we never talk about like mentally.
That's what's really important. Is if the inside's not functioning properly, the outside's not gonna function. So you got to make sure you're okay upstairs. And like, I mean, we talked about like depression and all that before, but I think when I was depressed, when I was living up in Savannah, like, I think that like my body was just out of whack. Like, I've never been the person to get like colds all the time and stuff like that, but I was always feeling like sick. I had ear infections constantly. I was having problems with my back. I had de veins randomly out of nowhere, which it's like this thing. I couldn't hold a cup. Like, I couldn't do this. I couldn't grip anything. So it's like my body was having all these issues, but when you think about it, like, and now I don't have those issues, but it's because I was so depressed. And when you're in that state of depression, like, you're not taking care of yourself, one, and two, your body is just I don't want to say malfunctioning, but you're just not. Your
body shuts itself down.
It's shutting itself down because your brain, you're not getting the chemicals that you need. The balance of chemicals in your brain is just all the way out of whack. So if that's not working, then nothing else will.
I think I have to shout out individuals like Charlemagne. Who else was I thinking of? I know Charlemagne. Lewis Hamilton,
the race car driver. I just watched him do the David Letterman interview, and he was talking about how important mental health is, even though he's like a race car, like what mental health issue would you have? But he was explaining it a bunch.
But yeah, and then I heard Marcus, Jada, and her
Love.
Aisha Curry, who was talking about her anxiety and how she suffers from anxiety.
Klay Thompson got that too, because in the commercial, he's got the name
my boyfriend.
I forgot the name of the company.
That's my boyfriend, yeah.
But like the company pretty much talks about like people like, you know, fighting depression and stuff like that, and like you see especially a lot of athletes, a lot of celebrities coming out and let people know like we like y'all, like we fight through this all the time. And I think I think it was Samuel L. Jackson. He said something about that too. Like he used drugs at first to fight his depression, but then like he just slowly started to get away from it, and he just started doing like other things like besides work. Like he started to read. He played golf. Golf is, you know, because I thought I was talking to one of my friends, and I was telling him that I thought about doing golf too, because golf stimulate the mind. Like Schoolboy Q, he said he do that too because of that. Like golf, like certain stuff keeps you.
It does.
Like
you don't have to drink or do drugs and stuff. Like I know weed is not a drug, but I feel like you don't have to go.
It is a drug when you use it as a numbing.
Yeah.
And not as a
recreational.
Like you and I have had this discussion. Like, if you smoke weed, you smoke weed, but
you don't have to always use it.
Yeah, when you're starting to use it as a crutch for something, then you aren't dealing with the issue. It's like drinking. Like, I'm gonna have a drink because I want to, not because I'm depressed. Like, I've done that before. Like, I had a family member commit suicide, and my first instinct was, I'm gonna go get drunk at the club tonight. Like, fuck that. And it was like, looking back at it now, that was not the best way to deal with that moment of sadness and that depression, because it could have gone worse.
Really bad, yeah.
And I have to say, like, as a generation, I'm really proud of our generation in that aspect. Like, we're starting to take away that Kanye, that was the person I wanted to say. I mean, he's crazy. Let's
not say crazy, but I think he never dealt with the loss of his mom.
Right.
A few other things,
and that just that
snowballed.
Yeah, I think he's starting to, and I was telling John today, I feel like his spirituality is not in the proper place.
Neighbors okay?
No, I think it was the trash people. There's a lot of noise going on, and it wasn't us this time. But I think that Kanye is in a space where he's like, I feel like he's very spiritual as an individual, and he has so much going on with his mind, but no one has ever taken the time to sit Kanye down and been like, bro, you need to deal with the underlining issue, which is your mom.
I want to take it back to where you said you're proud of our generation for like being more like accepting of mental health or the fact that it exists. I